Well, Kemini, flags continue to fly at half-mast. From the shots there, you can see it's a very, very somber mood, very emotional mood here at the seat of government. Preparations are underway for the laying of flowers for the departed souls. That's Dr. Edward Omani Boama, the Minister for Defense. Dr. Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed, the Minister for Environment, Science and Technology. Alhaji Muniru Mohammed, the Acting Deputy National Security Coordinator. Dr. Samuel Sapong, who is the National Vice Chairman of the NDC. Samuel Abaji, Acting Deputy Director of NADMO. Squadron Leader Peter Bafemi Anala. And the Flying Officer Mane Chuman Pedu and Sergeant NS Ado Mensa. Government has already hoisted this giant billboard beginning the morning for them. Mind you, just yesterday or last night, the president declared 3 days of national mourning for these gallant men who were serving the country in their own capacity and also in their official capacity. Preparations continues for the laying of the flowers. From the shot over there, you can see the government officials and also the military are doing the preparations for this laying of the flowers to pay tribute to them. A very normal thing that happens when incidents of this nature does occur. We do understand that the president himself will be in attendance, but just a short while ago, the vice president, Professor Nana Jeno Pokwajiman, just drove into the Jubilee House awaiting the commencement of this exercise, which is the mourning of these individuals that the state has lost in their line of duty. You spoke a while ago also about the appointment that the president has made for acting capacity or to be acting in their capacity. Well, a statement issued and released a while ago by the Minister for Government Communications, Felix Kwachiofosu, reads that, let me quickly just get to that statement whilst we get the information. But essentially what the statement is saying is that government has appointed in acting capacity Dr. Kesela Tofosen to be acting as the defense minister, and also Mr. Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa to be acting as the environment, science and technology minister. This is the statement that government had issued just a short while ago. But as we speak, things are moving pretty fast as the country continues to mourn these gallant men who lost their lives in that tragic incident yesterday. But like I did say a while ago, the flags continue to fly at half-mast because it's a 3-day of national mourning, and preparations are underway for the laying of the flowers as tribute to these 8 individuals who lost their lives in that tragic journey.
I see, Komla. We'll come back to you briefly for a bit more from the presidency, as we know that a few things are supposed to come up there. In the meantime, we have been going through the profiles of the men behind me, as you see them on the screen. We know now that for the top 2 dignitaries, Dr. Omane Boama and Dr. Ibrahim Mutala, both of them their ministries have now been given oversight duties to the finance minister for defense, and the environment ministry will now be under the Emmanuel Amakofi-Boa, the lands and natural resources minister. Again, additional responsibility for that. But while we wait to engage with Komla on this subject, Mawena, you covered this breaking news from when it came out.
Yeah.
When it came out, and it's been on the news since then. What else are we learning about how the situation has evolved so far?
Not much, because I say not much in terms of what the general mood of the country has been since the announcement, as we got that confirmation from the Chief of Staff, Julius Debra, yesterday. The grief has continued, and it continues to be one that is at the homes of all of these individuals who lost loved ones, amongst many other things. But just by way of that additional detail, which we've been confirming to you about, 2 new appointments as well made with respect to the portfolios that have now become vacant.
Absolutely.
Yes, the first person that we know, the Finance Minister, Dr. Kassia Lato-Forson, he is expected to take charge of the Defense Ministry. And Kemeni, it is a very important ministry. Yes, we know all of such ministries are important, but in terms of the security and well-being of the state, more often than not, that comes first hand in terms of all discussions for everyone. And so it is one thing that has dominated the conversations, and the president says the finance minister should do that for him. And then this man, and I'm sure a lot of us would have seen videos yesterday of his reaction when the Ashanti regional minister prompted him of his need to rush to the site of the incident and ascertain for himself what really had transpired. The shock on his face and the gasp with which he exclaimed upon hearing the news was very much evident. He, unfortunately, will have to be taking over the portfolio of one of his colleagues who, unfortunately as well, yesterday had to pass. That's the Lands and Natural Resources Minister, Amakofi Boa. He now will take charge or have additional responsibility over the Environment, Science and Technology Committee.
And Mawena, we know that today some caucuses in Parliament have been paying visits to the homes of Dr. Omane Boamah and Dr. Ibrahim Mutala. We'll get into that in a tad. In the meantime, let's have a quick chat with Wing Commander Patrick Nelson Sogbojo, retired. He's a retired Air Force officer. Wing Commander, thank you so much for your time here. I can only imagine what may be going through your mind, what your feelings could be about this incident right now, but put those into words for us.
Good afternoon to you and your listeners. It's a sad moment. It's a sad moment. But in the life of a pilot.
Hello, Commander.
Yes, I can hear you.
Absolutely.
It's very sad. It's extremely very sad situation.
Indeed. So, Commander, what I have you to do in order for the conversation to be smooth is to turn down the volume on your television set so you listen to me in your handset.
Okay. All right, I hear
Wing Commander Sogbojo, retired, worked in the Ghana Air Force for years. He says it's a really sad moment. But when things of this nature happens, what goes on in the back room of the Air Force?
It's TV3. Hello?
Yes, Wing Commander. I'm asking.
Yes.
I'm asking, when things of this nature occur, what goes on in the back room of the Air Force?
Well, the normal procedure is to find out what happened. You know, don't forget that airplanes fly and they fall down sometimes. Now, before they undertook this flight, and don't forget they've been doing these VIP flights for the government since the Air Force got helicopters. Okay? Now, a pilot will check around the helicopter, check the engine, everything before he takes off on assigned duty. And the pilots who are flying the airplanes are matured. Must have been flying this thing for about 9 to 10 years. Now, things can happen en route. It could be mechanical or it can be weather. So they took off from Accra and heading to Obuasi. They were almost there. When the helicopter gets into trouble, the only thing is to find a space to land. But when you are flying over forested areas with those tall trees, the helicopter can't hang in the air forever. It's the power which sustains the helicopter in the air. So if maybe a loss of power, the helicopter will start coming down. And if there's no place for you to land, you land on the trees and you crash. and also the passengers on board. The impact of the helicopter, I believe, must have sent them into comatose situation. That maybe they may not even experience the fire or anything on that sort because the impact is big. And if automobiles, like cars, can crash head on and burst into flames, then even the aeroplane having more fuel. It's aviation kerosene, which we use.
Very well. So Wing Commander, based on what you have told us right now, seeing the impact of the aircraft, what are you able to glean as to how this may have happened?
Well, this is what I'm saying, that it could be a mechanical or weather, because they were en route. They were en route to their destination. Okay? And if it is weather, the pilot will find somewhere to land. Weather can change, but if it's mechanical, engine or electrical failure, the helicopter has to come down. It cannot be in the air and call a mechanic to come and fix it. And if it's you know, once it's there, he must look for a clear area to land for rescue. But around that area, you are flying over a heavily forested area.
And you know, in getting to the bottom of this, there are many who have called for, let's know what was on the black box. What did the black box record? Does the Z9 military helicopter have a black box? How long would it take? How long would it take for us to start to know what may be on that black box?
Well, let me let you know. Black box is not something that you open and in seconds it tells you what happened. They have to fly in experts to come and decode what is recorded. The voice recorder, yes, you could, but the black box, you can't just open it and it says A, B, C, or D. They have to bring experts to come and decode what is inside. What happened to the airplane. So maybe a couple of days for I don't think we have experts in the Ghana Air Force anyway who can decode black boxes. So first thing, the manufacturer should be informed. And they're flying people to come and have a look at it. And also, yeah.
Right, go ahead.
I also heard people talking about maybe Galamsey people shooting. And I can, on all experience, the kind of weapon they use to those sites cannot bring this helicopter down. Unless a missile.
We'll wait for the investigations into the incident. Tell us exactly what happened. But thank you so much for your insight, Wing Commander Patrick Sogbojo. Thank you so much. I appreciate your time. We've just been talking to a retired Air Force officer, giving us an insight into what the situation could have been and what may even go on in the back end of the Air Force after an incident of this nature is taken. And Mawena, he talked about the black box has been a source of concern, so to speak, for the Ghanaian people, because they say when we know what the black box recorded, that we know why this went down. And that's really important given the backdrop that there's a lot of conspiracies starting to come up. And
a lot of people are saying different things.
Absolutely. We're going to have to get in front of the story one way or the other as to why such an incident of this magnitude happened to our defense minister.
Absolutely. And like he mentioned, the expectation is that we will have experts begin to come in because the manufacturer will have to come in this case, because we might not have immediately experts who can help us unravel the circumstances surrounding what might have happened. But we'll seek to as well paint for you a picture as to what the flight path possibly could have been, because you heard Wing Commander speak to quite a number of facts based on what it is that he knows and his experience as well in relation to these matters. And so that's one of the many things on your screens, possibly the flight path from here in the capital, the Air Force Base, headed towards Obuasi, roughly around 183 kilometers. They took off at 9:12, which has been confirmed by the statement as issued by the Ghana Armed Forces. The estimated time of arrival, what we understand from sources, was 10:02. That's the time they were expected to have arrived. And we get confirmation, and one thing that has continued to come through is that there were concerns of visibility because of the bad nature of the weather. As at the time this unfortunate incident happened. And from what we're learning of, and Wing Commander, which my colleague Kamini just spoke to as well, seeks to draw in on the geographical area of the crash site. There are quite some tall trees. And so just comparing from where the crash happened to the final destination, which is around Obuasi, roughly under 20 kilometers more for them to do before the unfortunate incident happened. And what we understand is that this had to do with the mountainous nature of the area, which may have caused this unfortunate incident to have happened. Because if we begin to paint a picture for you via Google Earth to look at the exact area, the Sikaman area, which is close to Obuasi, which they were headed to, it's a heavily dense forest. And like Ibrahim and the others confirmed to us, they had to journey on foot for about an hour and 30 minutes. But here's a bit more of what we've been learning of the condolences which have been coming through over the last few hours. I'll just do this one, and then we connect with my colleague Christian Yale as well, because he's been touching base at the homes of these ministers of state who unfortunately have passed, and quite a number of people have been coming in and out. But this one from the president of the ECOWAS Commission, His Excellency Dr. Omar Aliu Toure. He says that it is with profound sorrow that we have received the tragic news of the helicopter crash in Ghana, which claimed the lives of several senior government officials, including the Minister of Defense, Edward Omane-Boamah, and the Minister of Environment, Science and Technology, Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed. Christian Yale, like I mentioned, is stationed both homes. He's been crisscrossing there. Let's connect with him right now. Chris, exactly where are you? What can you tell us? And I know the mood will be so somber, but talk to us.
Eric, I'm currently at the residence of Dr. Ibrahim Murtala Mohammed, the Minister for Environment, Science and Technology. Just a while ago, members of the Majority Caucus came here in their numbers, led by the First Deputy Speaker of Parliament, Bernard Ahiafo. When they came here, the family received them and formally gave them the introduction, as it were, as to what has happened and how they are dealing with the situation here. And so that was done by the honorable member, one of the MPs who did that, Al-Hassan Sohini, I should say, after which the former finance minister, Dr. Mohammed Amin Adam, offered a Muslim prayer, and thereafter a little interaction was done. They were allowed to go inside to see the widow, the wife of the late MP. And so right now, just still some guests who are trooping into this residence to get first-hand information and to get an understanding of how things have been so far. But earlier, Eric, I can tell you that earlier we were at the residence of Dr. Omane-Boamah, and it's all pain, ruthless pain, if I should say, how people are trooping in and continue to show how saddened they are about this whole situation. And so that has been the situation so far. At Dr. Omane-Boamah's residence, we had delegation from the National Democratic Congress led by Education Minister Haruna Idrisu, who went there. We were not allowed entry. The direction is that there wouldn't be any media entry into the residence proper, and so you just pitch camp outside. Let me see if I'm able to get Honorable Al-Hassan Suyuni for just some few words. Just some few words, Honorable. Just some few words, please.
No, this is not Honorable, and I'm not ready to talk.
Okay, just some few. You wouldn't want to give us any. All right, that is fine. All right, that is fine. That is fine. So that is fine. So he wouldn't want to. He wouldn't want to say anything now. But just like you see around, the family is around. Eric, you know that there was an earlier indication that Honorable Murtala was to be buried today. That did not happen or was postponed. And in my earlier engagement with Collins Dauda, who is a Muslim stalwart himself, he tells me that per the Islamic tradition, when cases of this nature happen, it is allowed for them to hold on to the funeral rite, as it were, and as they do in per Islamic tradition. And so that is the situation. The understanding, and we are expecting that maybe sooner than later, the majority leader himself, Mahama Yaraga, might be here to come to mourn with a family and to also see what they can do. But per the family and per the information they have given us, they are in touch with government, they are in touch with the president and all those who matter to decide the funeral arrangement and even when they would embark on that and how the things would unfold. But let me try to see if I can still get some members of parliament, those who are still around, to get some information from them and how they have received this whole news, this tragedy that has dealt the country a very big blow, and how they are coping so far and how things have been so far. But even before that, let me see if I can briefly engage you. How did you receive the news and how are you coping with the sad situation?
And the situation is very sad for Ghana, because Mutala is a humble person who is advisable to Ghana, and is a former MP for my constituency, and I get a great loss into Ghana. And well, we are very sad. We can't talk anything about Mutala.
Do you relate to him?
Yes, and Mutala is, I have been a campaign manager to him informally to 2012 to 2016. He even gave me one slot to my mother to attend a pilgrim of Hajj. And it is a painful when my mother received the story, and my mother has even been in hospital. So Mutala is very sad. We can't talk.
All right, Eric. So I'm still trying to get the MP for Ashaiman, Dr. Ernest Nogbe, who has been here for some time now, to also get his view and his thoughts. And I mean, he even shares some fond memories of Honorable Murtala Muhammad, and as well as Dr. Mani Buama and the rest of them, and especially when it comes to the work that they do in Parliament. Earlier, an off-record conversation that I had with him, he spoke about the roles that he himself, together with Dr. Murtala Muhammad and a few other colleagues like Edward Bawa, played during the election of the current speaker, as well as even some judge, for instance. And so it means that he has a special relationship with him, and it means a lot to him to know that this has happened. And as it were, we know that yesterday in the night, the bodies or the remains of the 8 who tragically died were brought to Accra and have been sent to the morgue or the mortuary, after which we know that the right processes would follow. Some have been talking about the DNA test and the forensic test and all of those that will be done in order to identify who is who, because you know, from what we know. Okay, so I can now engage Dr. Ernest Nogbe, Member of Parliament for Ashaiman. Do you share any fondest memory of your late colleagues?
Well, it's just unfortunate that yesterday we had this tragic incident. Honorable Murtala was a very good man. He was my colleague in Parliament. We shared the same seat, almost the same seat in Parliament, because he comes before me. He was number 1 and I was number 2, or I am still number 2. So Honorable Murtala was such a gentleman, a guy with brilliance, a guy with intelligence. When he was debating on the floor of the House, you would see the forcefulness of his debate. You will see that he was debating with facts on the matter. Even though he creates certain humor, everybody loved him on the floor. I started my PhD with Murtala, Honorable Murtala. He graduated last year and I graduated this year. We were teasing each other. He was teasing me that I couldn't graduate on time. And I said, oh, it was unfortunate. But as we speak now, we lost my very good friend. Parliament would miss Honorable Murtala. Anything that happened in the 8th Parliament the good or the bad, it was plotted by my good self, Mutala, and some few others. We did those plotting. And so when you hear that your very close friend, your bosom friend, went to the other side of the world, you would be shocked. You will be shattered. But God knows best. He gives and He takes. And we can only take solace in the fact that this world is not our home. It's a transit cortex, and we shall all go one day to account for our stewardship. Honorable Mutala, right. I can only share in the concern of the family and wish them well, that God knows best.
All right, we know God knows best. So I can see a number of dignitaries as well, and some guests who are arriving at the residence of Dr. Ibrahim Mutala.
Right, Christian, still a bit more of the dignitaries arriving at the home of the Honorable Mutala Ibrahim, Mutala Mohammed, I beg your pardon. Still quite difficult for all persons involved as they continue to share their fond memories of him, amongst many other things. There's a statement that's come through from the government as well in relation to this 3 days of mourning, starting a lot later at 1 p.m. Today. And we just try and read to you what the details of that statement from the government is on the planned activities for the next 3 days in relation to this activity. But also, we'll get on to Zoom pretty shortly and engage the Bureau of Public Safety as well, because they've made some quite interesting points in relation to all of the development as we've witnessed over the last few hours, and then bring you what we've been seeking to paint an incident report for you involving the military and their aircraft, because like you heard Wing Commander speak to, there are quite a number of these questions and other things that demand answers, even while they continue to urge persons to shy away from conspiracy theories, amongst many other things. So perhaps we'll start from the statement that's come through from the government first, or perhaps starting from the incident report, which we have just by our dashboard for you quickly. And so as of the last time of check, in the year of 2020, the 29th of June, there was an A-Haben Z9EH helicopter belonging to the Ghana Air Force, which made an emergency landing on the 25th of June, but none of the 8 people on board were injured. Then there was that emergency landing in a field about 32 kilometers west of the Tamale Airport, and the crew landed after observing a malfunction of the tail rotor system. Then there is March 19, 2024, emergency landing of a Ghana Air Force helicopter registration number GHF 696 on Tuesday of the same date at Bonsukrom in the western region. Landing occurred as a result of bad weather conditions. There were no fatalities as well. The only one recorded history which had fatalities, March 2002, the Ghana Air Force Augusta Bell 412 helicopter. It crashed in the Etiwa forest. 5 military personnel perished in that crash, and they had been tasked to undertake medical evacuation when the crash occurred. I mentioned the Bureau of Public Safety. They've been making some interesting points in relation to these developments over the last few hours as well. Nanaya Akwada, or Dr. Nanaya Akwada as well, is joining us via Zoom for a quick chat in relation to this. Doc, appreciate you joining us this afternoon. You've made quite a number of points. Let's start off with what you believe are immediate steps that should be taken by the state, which has already not been done, particularly starting from the grieving families.
Very good afternoon to your viewers. At this point, the Bureau of Public Safety would like to join in mourning with the families of the bereaved, particularly with the Ghana Armed Forces, the government of Ghana, and the people of Ghana. It's a sad day. Yes, it was a sad day yesterday indeed, and the 3 days of mourning I think that is perfect in place, and I want to commend the government for declaring such 3 days of mourning. Now, to answer your question, I'm particularly impressed about the efforts, at least as far as the news is concerned, the efforts that the government has made to reach out to families and to, follow, in some cases, strict religious protocols for some of the departed, officials. That aside, I think that information coming in is trickling in rather too slow. So far, I've been monitoring the media since last night, in fact, up to 12 midnight last night, or let's say early this morning. I still have not heard anything about recoveries of critical components of this aircraft. I'm looking, at least I would like to hear whether we've been able to retrieve the black boxes on this aircraft. I hope that it's more than enough. It should be fitted with both a flight data recorder and a voice data recorder. These two components will help us unearth technically what happened to this aircraft before it crashed, and then the other will help us with what kinds of conversations went on in the dying minutes, of that journey. I think that it's critical, and I'm hoping to hear news or have news of those black boxes retrieved. Secondly, I think that we would want to request of the government to undertake the investigation of this incident in an independent and transparent fashion, guided by the principles of International Civil Aviation Organization Annex 13, which is on aviation incident and investigation protocols. That will require the government to put out some preliminary findings within 30 days, followed by regular updates on the progress of the investigation. I think that is key. Someone will ask, it was a military, helicopter that was involved. Why do we revert to a civilian aviation protocol? The ICAO's Annex 13 framework still remains the best practice globally for aviation incidents investigation. It helps us understand the leadership, the processes, and the components that investigation should cover. And so we would urge the government to follow the International Civil Aviation Organization's Annex 13 in this investigation. We believe that by far, if they do this, it will help us, it will guarantee thorough analysis, impartiality, and public accountability in this space. We are urging this because I believe you being in the media by now, a lot of speculations are now rife. There are those who are beating on political angles, those beating on conspiracy theories, and all kinds of. One of the craziest ones I read this morning on social media was that the pilots did not have any experience at all. Others also say the Ghana Armed Forces requires that the pilot must have 2 years of experience.
We know
in the industry.
That some of those are quite not true, because we've been running through profiles of these individuals. Absolutely. Amongst many other things. But what we know, based off on what we've been learning from the military sources, amongst many other things, is that a team is returning to the area again for the search of some of these critical components which you speak of. Will that 30 days start off from today, now that we're getting word that this critical search is expected to take place today?
Well, actually, within the 30 days, there's not strict stipulations of when it starts, but internationally, I have followed more than 200 aviation incidents across the globe. It starts from when the wreckage is discovered. So technically, it starts from yesterday, 30 days, because I'm surprised that a team is returning now to site to go look for black boxes. These are critical components that, as of yesterday, throughout the night, these are things that we should have been looking for because they hold the key to unearthing or discovering what really happened. My prayer is that, considering the fact that a lot of ordinary people were trooping into this crash site, nothing is going to get lost, and that will undermine, our investigation efforts.
Right.
We would not want to put ourselves in this position where we have to now struggle to unearth what really happened to that flight. I think that aside that the black boxes, which are critical, we would also want to know the planning of the flight. How was the flight planned?
Right.
Well, did they plan to fly by visual, or by instruments? And these are technical terms. They have the VFR, the IFR, and depending on which ones you are flying with, the protocols apply. So we want to know, because from what we hear now is that the flight was flying solo. Is it that it was flying solo because it had a fault and it decided instead of landing to fly solo? I wouldn't want to believe that, because the Air Force, the Ghana Air Force, is one of the most, touted globally as having, professionalism. And you and I know that our pilots, even in times in the 80s, the 90s, were some of the best pilots you can have in the world. Right. So we want to get these things all put out. We want to also know the maintenance history of the aircraft and the qualifications of the flight crew in terms of their flight hours, not how long they've been with, the Ghana Armed Forces, but their flight hours. We would like to know the nature of communications from the aircraft prior to the crash, and that brings us to the voice data recorder. And we want to also know clearly, in clear terms. Now we have seen efforts that they are making, but we want to know the clear protocols for family support and communication in the aftermath of the crash.
Mr. Akwada, thank you. Thank you very much. That's Dr. Nana Akwada speaking to us on quite a number of the things which we're expectant of, but we understand. My colleague Ibrahim Abubakar as well is returning to the area as well a lot later for us, where we can get details. But Kamini, there's a bit more in terms of the forensics that we're seeking to be able to get immediate understanding of at this point in time, even as that official 3-day mourning ceremony kicks off a lot later this afternoon as well.
But that makes a very important point about keeping the integrity of the crash site. And it's important that even as we go back there, there was a lot of interference yesterday because it was a really...
It required the assistance of the locals, because they helped in conveying the bodies, and Ibrahim reported that quite strongly, and that some of them were even keeping components of the crashed aircraft as well. And so all of that will have to be circled back whilst this investigation is being done.
And we'll find out whether or not, the place is now being protected.
Cordoned off,
absolutely, post-event. But let's have a quick chat with Dr. Richmond Afuakwa, who is a senior lecturer forensic sciences and consultant forensic scientist to the Ghana National Fire Service. He's joining us for a bit more on this. Doc, I appreciate your time with us. I'll first take your thoughts on what has happened so far. How are you feeling about it?
Well, the whole country is sad, and I think at this point I would want to convey my condolences to the bereaved family and the government of Ghana and the people, the general people of Ghana. It's a very sad week for us.
Indeed, Doc, we've just been talking about keeping the integrity of the crash site. We had a very big shock yesterday. It opened a gateway. Residents who needed to help convey the remains were there. So essentially, would you say that perhaps we may have defiled, so to speak, this crash site as far as forensic sciences are concerned? What are your thoughts?
Well, your guess is as good as mine. I mean, yesterday I was particularly sad that the accident scene was totally invaded and compromised. We have been trying to educate the general public that when matters like this happen, they have to stay away. You know, it was a fire site, and there were so many hazardous chemicals, hazardous parts of the scene, and people who are not trained shouldn't be going close to such scenes, you know? Yeah, so it was a sad day.
Oh, we apologize for that, but Doc, you were making a point. We apologize again for that interference, but Doc, you were making a point about the integrity of the crash site. Go ahead and finish that.
Yes, the videos we all saw on social media yesterday indicated that some indigents from the place and some farmers went to the scene. And these are not professionals, and they won't know how to treat the scene, you know. So they compromised the scene. Like I have been listening to you, and there are reports that some of the indigents made away with some components of the aircraft, and they helped carry the mortal remains of these gallant men. And all of these seriously compromise the scene. I hope we can recover the things that have been taken away from the scene and then make sense of it.
Indeed, that's a really important point you've made there, whether or not we can be able to recover enough to be able to make sense of what has happened. But how about you hang on for me? Let's speak with our Ashanti region correspondent, because we know, Doc, that he is returning to the crash site. Ibrahim Abubakar is our correspondent on the ground. Ibrahim, what can you report from where you are? Well, it appears that we have lost Ibrahim, but when we do get him, remember that the area is very deep vegetation, and so the connection there could be as poor as it can get, but we'll rework the lines, get Ibrahim back on the phone lines. But Doc, you were telling us again that there could be a lot of work to be done if too much has been compromised, right? But we also know that the investigators also, when they go back there to pick up whatever forensics there is to pick up from there, what are your expectations of how they will handle the scene now, or the crash site now, going forward?
Well, there are protocols for handling compromised scenes, and I'm sure we have professional men and women in the Ghana Armed Forces and the Ghana Police Service, as well as the Ghana National Fire Service. And these professional men and women know how to go about handling a compromised scene. Like I said, our only prayer will be that very pertinent pieces of evidence were not taken away from the scene, so that we can bring this matter to a good conclusion. I mean, the family, the bereaved family needs it, the government of Ghana needs it, and the people of Ghana seriously need it.
Doc, we'll leave it here, but thank you so much. Hopefully we'll hear more from investigators going forward. I appreciate your time with us, forensic scientist Dr. Richmond Afuakwa. When we come back, we've been telling you how government officials, mourners, members of the public are thronging the homes of particularly Dr. Mane Boama and Dr. Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed. Would also take you up north, where we know that similar events are taking place in the family home of Dr. Ibrahim Mutala. And then also don't forget that we'll be back in the community near Adanse, where the events took place, and bring you what residents saw firsthand. Don't go away. We'll be right back.
Why are more and more professionals choosing Flamingo paint?
As an interior decorator, I aim for that beautiful, elegant look. Flamingo paint has great hiding ability to cover and transform old walls.
Reporting from the Takoradi Market Circle, from the heart of the Upper West Regional Capital,
from the heart of the Ashanti Kingdom,
reporting from Sunyani,
from the Central Business District of Navrongo.
The parliamentarians are on recess.
This is where it all unfolds, the moments that potentially alters the course of our nation and the world. These are the individuals we recognize, the voices we amplify, who appears on screen and who contributes behind the scenes. With professionalism at our core, we bring you news you can trust, impact journalism that makes a difference. This illustrates how diverse perspectives enhance our strength and reinforces our mission. This is 3 News, leaders in breaking news, exclusive interviews, facts and analysis on TV, radio, online and digital. 3 News, first in news.
You're so live here on TV3. This is News Central. We're continuing to bring you details of the 3 days of mourning for the 8 gallant servicemen who died, unfortunately, while on their way to Obuasi as part of launching government cooperative mining in that part of the country. Lots of you have been sharing thoughts as to what it is that transpired. We're taking you back right now to the Sikaman area, where my colleague Ibrahim Abubakar, amongst many other things, was stationed throughout yesterday, provided details of the developments from there for us. He's returned there today, and let's try and catch up and connect with him because, like we mentioned during that interview with Dr. Nanaya Akwada, the team is returning and search efforts are happening today. Let's connect with him right now. Ibrahim, thank you very much for joining us again this afternoon. Talk to us. What's the delegation that's leading the media as you make your way back to the Sikaman area and that dense forest where the search is expected to commence if it hasn't already?
Well, now the search has commenced. An interagency security team have been redeployed to the area to probe further and see what they can make out of the situation. In fact, one of the key things they are tasked to find is the black box. In fact, yesterday the Ashanti Regional Minister was insisting that they need to get the black box before they return to Kumasi, as it will be very crucial in helping with investigation. But unfortunately, because of the time and also where we found ourselves around 5 p.m., the thick forest and the place was getting dark. The priority yesterday was to be able to retrieve all 8 bodies and bring them to Kumasi for onward transportation to Accra. So this morning, the military is back, the police is back. We also have the fire service also assisting and also other security personnel. They are still scavenging the area to try and see whether they will be able to find this black box because it will surely capture everything that has gone on. And secondly, a ban has been placed on farming activities within the forest until further notice. And also the Adansi Traditional Council have been summoned. They are still going about with their libation and also doing some other rituals, and they said they will communicate the outcome to Menchia. So the search has begun, the investigation is still ongoing. You come to the community, still people are still in shock. They still cannot believe what has happened. In fact, yesterday, like we mentioned, they said last year they experienced kind of similar one, but it was an emergency land in the community. But this time around, quite unfortunate, crash, losing 8 lives.
Right. Ibrahim, we'll leave it here. I'm sure as you continue to be in the town, we'll come to you again for a bit more. That's my colleague Ibrahim Abubakar from the Sikaman area in the Ashanti region.
Now, top government officials alongside traditional authorities and hundreds of mourners have visited the family home of Tamale Central MP Ibrahim Mutala Mohammed, who was killed in the helicopter crash. The visit is a commiserate with the bereaved family. My colleague Christopher Mwakon has been at the residence of the MP since morning. He joins us with details of this visit. Chris, talk to us. What can you report about the where you are right now and the visits that have taken place so far?
Yes, so Kemini, as you can see in the background, a lot more people continue to troop to the residence of the late Member of Parliament for Tamale Central, Dr. Mutala Mohammed. Earlier today, a lot more of them, hundreds of them, were here to sympathize with the family. Since yesterday, people have been trooping to the family house to mourn with the family. Earlier also, the some top government officials within the northern region, traditional authorities, and other top individuals were at the family House to also share their words of sympathy with them. The Northern Regional Minister, Ali Adol, represented government and has encouraged the family to see this as Allah's wish for the late Member of Parliament, as Muslims believe that every soul shall taste death. The late Member of Parliament has just tasted what Allah has written, and so they should take it in good faith as government prepares to also brief the family as to the funeral arrangement. Let's take a listen to what the regional minister has been saying.
Here once more to mourn with the bereaved family. Yesterday I was here with the same contingent to express of condolences to the bereaved family and to formally, as custom demands, to formally announce the funeral of our late brother, the Minister for Environment, Science and Technology, who also doubles as the MP for Tamale Central, to the bereaved family yesterday, which we did. Yesterday we thought, as at this time, the body or the mortal remains would have been brought to us to see how we can bury. Unfortunately, latter part of the night, a signal got to us that they are still going through some processes of autopsy.
That's a voice from the family home of Tamale Central MP Ibrahim Mutala. And thank you so much, Christopher, for bringing us the stories. It's time for us to go.
Yeah, difficult. Continues to be quite difficult. We've seen people share opinion. Some persons not even close to the family, not being able to go through the night, just can't possibly fathom how all of this happened. And we continue to pray for strength for their families in this very difficult time. And we're in a state of mourning as a country.
Absolutely. We'll continue to keep an eye on events across the country. Remember, we told you that, the caucuses are still moving around. We know that government officials are continuing to visit the homes of the deceased, and not just the ministers, but also the vice chair of the NDC.
Of the party, the former parliamentary candidates.
Absolutely, the deputy director of NATMO, and many others will also be at the Jubilee House, where we expect a formal ceremony to take place.
A wreath laying ceremony of some sort will start this afternoon, which will kickstart
the National Day,
the National Day, the 3 day of mourning.
Absolutely. We'll be here with you throughout that. In the meantime, stay with us for regular programming. Until then, bye-bye.
I'm Mawina Egbeta.
Well, I'm Camilla.